What does it feel like in your own being to have space held for you by an animal? What does it feel like in your own being to hold space for an animal being? What does it feel like in your own embodied being to hold space for yourself? What does it feel like in your whole being to hold space for the whole world? What does it feel like in your whole being to have the universe hold space for you? So these are the contemplations that you can take with you as we hear the animals and feel the transmissions activating all of this knowing inside of ourselves. This is not new information. This is a reawakening. Our first message today is from my little herd. And they say that, oh, before I begin, I just want to say that Taz is standing over the water trough on her own in the shade, holding space. See if I can just put the camera on her for a moment. I don't know if you can see her, but she's over there. And then Travis is hard to miss. And then Teddy and Khalil and Yoshi. They're all encircling us, as are all the unseen and seen beings. So we feel their presence as we read their transmissions. They say, we hold space by becoming space itself. We simply and directly feel ourselves as space. Some say that space is emptiness, but we know it's not just empty. Space, for us, is felt and embodied as the vast sea of potentiality. Not owned by the mind. Space is consciousness itself, freed from mental concepts, freed from subject and object, freed from knowing and not knowing, freed from identification. Feel with us now into the sea of potentiality as your very self. For you are space holding herself. So I'll read this again as we breathe it into the cells of our being. The animals of the herd say, we hold space by becoming space itself. We simply and directly feel ourselves as space. Some say that space is emptiness, but we know it's not just empty. Space for us is felt and embodied as the vast sea of potentiality, not owned by the mind. Space is consciousness itself, freed from mental concepts, freed from subject and object, freed from knowing and not knowing, freed from identification. Feel with me now the sea of potentiality as yourself, for you are space, holding herself. And let's breathe these vibrations in and out and send them free upon the breath out, rippling out into the whole. And as you feel yourself as space, and feel yourself as the sea of potentiality, free and vast, we shall breathe in the next message from Elephant. Elephant says, free thought by tuning into the presence of the space of simple isness that you are. Free thought by tuning into the presence of the space of simple isness that you are. Tune with me now into the alive, witnessing space that thoughts pass through. Feel into alive awareness of the unconditional space that simply witnesses all. Tune into that space, tuning into that space, you will be tuning into nature. Nature is space. Nature is you. Holding space is noticing nature breathing through you in this very moment. Elephant says, free thought by tuning into the presence of the space of simple isness that you are. Tune with me now into the alive witnessing space that thoughts pass through. Feel into alive awareness of the unconditional space that simply witnesses all. Tuning into that space, you will be tuning into nature. Nature is space. Nature is you. Holding space is noticing nature breathing through you in this very moment. So in this powerful, amplified field, let's allow nature to simply breathe through each of our vessels, being breathed through by nature herself. And as you notice that you're not the doer of this breath, feel the freedom, the relaxation, and the space that makes itself known. Within you and all around you. Where does one begin and another end in this gloriousness of space? As nature breathes through you, we allow thoughts to free themselves as they pass through this space. We tune into the space as an unconditional witnessing presence. And as this becomes more of an alive experience for each of us, it strengthens. Strengthens in the whole. And we breathe in another message from the herd, this little herd here. Teddy is lying down flat, bathing in the sun. So let's absorb these rays together, just like Teddy, fully. So the herd says, love is holding space for yourself, to be as you are, without the need to alter anything. Simply, softly gazing is the silent witness of what is. Simply, softly gazing is the silent witness of what is. Love is the space you offer another to be as they are without the need to alter them. This holding space is the silent witness of what is. This is love. It is the witnessing awareness. It is who you are. Love is the universal space holding all. You are that love. Love is holding space for yourself to be as you are without the need to alter anything. Simply, softly gazing as the silent witness of what is. Love is the space you offer another to be as they are, without the need to alter them. This holding space is the silent witness of what is. This is love. It is the witnessing awareness. It is who you are. Love is the universal space holding all. You are that love. We send out the ripples of this love to the whole. So now we are feeling this space through the lens of love. It is not an empty space. It is love. It's a soft gaze that you can turn upon yourself in this moment for whatever is passing through. Any emotions, thoughts, arguments, protests, conflict, surges of joy, sorrow, grief. Feel the space of love through which they pass. They come and go. As nature breathes them through. The vessel of space that you are. This alive, silent witness that allows you to be as you are in this moment. And then overflows this permission to all that is. And feel that space opening. Feel that freedom. And that sea of potentiality bubbling. Simply allow nature to breathe through. And I know we could stop there, because it's a lot to breathe in fully, to integrate. But let's stretch ourselves just a little bit more. Because Whale has a message that her song sings out. Why do humans endlessly share stories of inconceivable pain and unbearable suffering? Please directly experience this fully. Why? Humans share these painful stories again and again in a plea to have the vibrations in those stories held by a vast, unconditional space, otherwise known as love. This desire to share pain by telling stories over and over again comes out of a pure and a wise intention. But the way humans collectively, compulsively feel driven to share becomes distorted as the rippling out rides waves of the illusion of separation. The stories of this vibration are born from the illusion of separation, and they get deeply imprinted in each mind and in the collective mind. And a loop of recreating the vibration of pain and fear and separation from the story becomes self-perpetuating. Therefore, they create more pain instead of the original, deeper intention of holding space for these vibrations to be set free. Free yourself from being enslaved by the story and allow the pain to be held by a vaster field of energy that is holding space. After all, you are not a self-contained, isolated energy body. And when you forget, and when you solidify this illusion, pain becomes suffering. Yes, follow your desire to have pain held by the vast space of awareness that you and that we all are. Understand that when you or other people share their stories, their souls are simply asking to open the energy field up into unconditional awareness. Do not be afraid to be open. Do not be afraid to be the space for all to be met and to pass through, thereby setting all free. So this message from Whale is echoing out from their song. Why do humans endlessly share stories of inconceivable pain and unbearable suffering? Please directly experience this fully. Why? Humans share these painful stories again and again in an attempt, in a plea, to have the vibrations in those stories held. Held by a vast, unconditional space, otherwise known as love. This desire to share pain by telling stories over and over again comes out of a pure and wise intention. But the way the human collective compulsively feels driven to share becomes distorted as the rippling out rides waves of the illusion of separation. The stories of this vibration are born from the waves of the illusion of separation. And they get deeply imprinted in each mind and in the collective mind, and a loop of recreating the vibration of pain and fear and separation from the story becomes self-perpetuating. Therefore, they create more pain instead of the original deeper intention of holding space for these vibrations to be set free. Free yourself from being enslaved by the story and allow the pain to be held by a vaster field of energy. This is holding space. After all, you are not a self-contained, isolated energy body. And when you forget and solidify this illusion, pain becomes suffering. Yes, follow your desire to have pain held by the vast space of awareness that you and that we all are. Understand that when you or other people share their stories, their souls are simply asking to open the energy field up into unconditional awareness. Do not be afraid to open the energy field. Do not be afraid to open. Do not be afraid to be the space for all to be met and for all to pass through, thereby setting all free. And so we simply take in these messages, breath by breath, and invite any animal to come into your most intimate space, nearer than near, to lend support to your direct knowing. To lend support by simply breathing together, perhaps with whale, diving under the water with whale for a moment. feeling the vast sea of potentiality in the depths of the space. And allowing all to pass through this space. And we thank Whale for this deep diving. And we thank the herd, elephant, and all the animals for their wisdom, for sparking our remembrance. Just allow the integration of all of these messages to be breathed through you. There's nothing you need to do, but honor that you are this witnessing presence here and now. And that this witnessing presence is love. And this is a time where we begin to gently transition our gathering to a dialogue if you feel to. Silence is also part of the dialogue we feel the same reverence for, but it is also a great offering to lend your voice sometimes to anything that feels like it wants to flow out of the space that you are. This is an alchemical space. We're holding space together in a powerful way. So everything that comes through is perfect, relevant. So feel free to unmute yourself and allow your voice to share freely.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, Glenda Ray, hello. Hello.
Wow. The power of holding space is so incredible. So, wow. As always, these journeys are so resonant in my life and in my, like it's almost like the day of or the week of or a few moments prior to our journey, I experienced something so related to what we're sharing. And this morning, I found myself in a grocery store and I saw one of my beloved soul sisters and went over to embrace her, say hello, and she began sharing a very intense and powerful experience that she has been moving through in the last few months. And she said to me that she felt like texting me this morning to ask for healing. And I found myself standing there, you know, completely present, simply listening, just simply being present with what she was sharing. And there was moments where I felt called to speak, and then that did not happen. just fully, you know, hearing her. And it's almost like in that space of holding space, something shifted within her. And it was just, wow. And then at that moment, I felt called to share something, that a message that came through. And it was all about compassion, about holding space for ourselves and being compassionate for whatever it is we're experiencing. And that in sometimes saying no to something is saying yes to ourselves. So she didn't want to come to work that morning. And so, you know, by honoring and having that compassion for ourselves, for our experience, and saying, no, I choose not to. It's like saying yes to yourself. And it was profound.
I can really feel that. That profundity. And how you choose to speak only when you felt to, from that place of emptiness and holding space, where the words were born and the compassion just overflowed. So beautiful.
There's holding space is like, it's the most powerful thing I believe that we can do for ourselves and for others. And it's just, and it's like we need to be able to do that for ourselves before we can hold space for others. And it's just that presence of just being and you know, hearing with your whole being what they're saying is nothing more needs to be said or done. It's that space that it's held in love is just incredibly powerful, and shifts happen in the moment. And in my life, I've had incredible experiences with animals, holding space with for myself and what I was moving through in that moment. And yes, I could share so many stories. We are not our stories, but it's just sometimes in sharing them, it's, you know, it's powerful. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for the space that you hold and that we hold together for each and all of us and the collective.
Thank you for your vibrational amplification. Let's just breathe in these words of vibration, of experience, and imprint that Glenda Ray offered. Not separate from our own experiences. one flow of power. Would anyone else like to share?
Hello, Sabina. Pam True.
Well, hello, Pam.
I guess this was perfect for me today.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I came upon a film this morning, and I watched it, and it was the most unimaginable suffering of animals. Just so unimaginable, and it was hard to get through, and I tossed around with whether I should post it or not. But what it did for me, and I was hoping that it would do for others, is it allowed me to hold a space for the animals and raise my level of compassion and love and kindness. And that no matter how difficult it is to see the truth, sometimes we have to see it instead of turning away from it, so that we can change the vibration of how humanity is treating animals, because we're all responsible. So I just like that you or whales or whatever, because they were part of it, pointed out that we could just hold a space of compassion and try and change the vibration. And so this was just so fitting for me, because it was a difficult morning. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. I'm just feeling the depth of grief and holding space. The truth is that we don't need to see and hear the facts of these experiences to know in our own bodies, because we're not separate. And there's so many of us experiencing heightened sensitivity that to see stories again and again does nothing to reinforce the compassion. Because the horror is too greatly felt already and is being worked with. I think there's a new way. I think Whale is wanting us to look at that. I don't think it is possible for people to have that, what's already awakened and that they're working with, of the suffering of the whole, to be flashed in their faces in all their senses, and then to ask them to dive into forgiveness and into compassion in the midst of that strengthened vibration of cruelty. I don't think it's a fair request. It's a fair request to hold space, to ask, to hold space, to strengthen the space. But to constantly share specific details does nothing at this point in our evolution but fester the wound. So I would really encourage you, Pam, to take a look at that. Things are being transmitted so directly right now, energetically, that we don't need a visual or a story of the unspeakable pains. Because we are that space that they're all passing through, so we feel it. There might be some circles where that is necessary, where the density is still not able to understand unless they see and feel. But I don't think it's primarily the people you are networking with. So I would just really ask you, what are you strengthening?
I'm back on. Well, it's a choice. You know, people have a choice whether they want to see it or not.
Not really. It can float in involuntarily into my newsfeed, and it's not a choice. And it's also not a choice if I'm feeling the suffering every day and working with it as an alchemical force. So I don't know. I think if we went into various groups that were perhaps focused on just really glossing over life, maybe that would be important to share. But I feel like the paradigm is shifting. If we don't honor what's here, then we're not strengthening what's here. That's what the animals are telling us. Strengthening compassion is a beautiful intention. You just must make sure that's what that's doing. I feel your intention is beautiful. You just must be sure that that's what it's doing.
What else could I be doing?
That's a good question. Let's hold it. It's a good question. Let's hold it with the love from the depths of your soul where that question is coming from.
Well, I just feel like a lot of people choose to turn away, and so it just continues on. And I guess I'm just trying to share awareness. It seems like there's a thing called truth. And,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And, you know, the truth is the truth. And there's so much suffering with the animals. It just can't go on. It's so overwhelming.
Yes. Well, how many people are able to face the suffering within themselves without buffers of addiction?
Without buffers of addiction?
Mm-hmm. How many people are able to actually meet and hold space for the suffering within themselves first? Those are the pathways that we need to strengthen. Mm-hmm. Those are the pathways that the animals are strengthening. How to meet our own suffering, how to find the awakening tools of awareness to meet our own suffering first. And once we strengthen that together, then there's nothing we can't do. But until then, there's nothing we can do. We have to have the strength and learn and strengthen it for one another, to hold space for our own suffering and pain, to amplify that to such a large echoing vibration. And then we can do anything. And that's what the animals are doing. They're strengthening these pathways for us. So we must ask ourselves, are we strengthening these pathways too?
Hi, Sabina. I just wanted to add just something quickly. You know, as I was moving through the meditation, being in the present moment, holding space, the breath, these concepts all just were flowing, they were merging. And in the breath, how we can shift is through the breath each day, because that creates the future. It's in that present moment where we create the future, and that is peace. So if we reprogram the conscious mind to go inside to being in that present, in that breath, then we can create that reality that we want to see. It's simple, but it takes work. And I feel, you know, the story of the animal suffering, and it is truth, but I feel like we can change that truth. It's evolving. And so we have to look inside, like you were saying. We have to hold space for ourselves, have that compassion in order to shift that. So I just wanted to add that.
Yes, thank you, Holly. That's powerful. The breath is so powerful.
Because we're connecting with the earth. We're bringing up that chi energy to shift everyone on the planet, including the animals and the suffering that's felt.
And it's also, wouldn't you say, an important facet to remember that we're being breathed through?
Yes, yes.
You know, that we're not the doer of the breathing or the doer of the meeting. We do choose. We do choose to allow the breath.
Yes, yes.
To meet all that passes through.
Mm-hmm. It's like we're opening, I felt like I was opening a portal. Mm-hmm. So tapping into or opening that space to that peace, really it's love.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is love. It is love. So it's a discernment out of love. It's not a right or wrong, but it is a really clear seeing of strengthening the space that is this miraculous field of transformation. And yes, the suffering does pass through that space. And since we are that space, we feel it. But not only do we feel it, by allowing it to pass through, it's blessed by love. And by blessing, just by breathing these intense waves, thoughts, situations into our awareness and breathing them through, we set them free into that miraculous space that's strengthened, that pulses as the heartbeat of the universe, where everything is possible and nothing is limited. But there are no mistakes and there's no wrong or right. There's simply love witnessing and seeing things clearly. And clearer seeing. Clearer and clearer. So we hold space together for this paradigm of suffering. As widely as we hold space for this paradigm of awakening. We don't contract to the suffering. And we don't become it. There's great, great freedom in holding the question of what else can we do? Because we all have different roles. Just allowing the answer to show itself. And the answer will feel a certain way. The answer will feel much more like space. Itself. So I thank you, Pam, for the courage of speaking and allowing me to share. I hope that you didn't hear it in any way other than the love from where it came from. I certainly hear the love from which you are operating from. Each one here feels that. And we're all wondering what to do. And that's why we're here. Because in this moment, in this non-doing, everything is strengthening. So let's breathe together in this amplified field. feeling nature breathing through the whole vessel of you, of we, of all that is. And as we hold space for all the beings who are sleeping, where ignorance and darkness are veils, as we hold space as widely for this, as for the awakening itself, notice what's strengthened. Notice what's being born. Notice what falls away on its own accord. So we thank the animals, we thank the animals, we thank the animals for showing us, for leading the way. And breath by breath, we are breathing together and strengthening. So bless you all. Let's send out these remembrances on ripples together into the whole. Thank you all. So much love, so much gratitude for your courage. I'm going to thank each of the herd mates. You're welcome to stay or go. Spend a little time just breathing with them in silence. Love to you all.